Hi friends, I'm Miss Dani from the Pleasant Hills Public Library, and joining me today is Karina, my lovely assistant and daughter. And we are so excited to be bringing you our first virtual fairy tale STEAM! Very exciting stuff. So do you remember, what do the letters in STEAM stand for? Do you know?
Nope.
Science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And we're going to explore all 5 of those subjects today with our challenge. But before we get to our challenge, we need to start with our story. Every week we'll feature a different folk or fairy tale and then go from there. This week we're going to feature Jack and the Beanstalk. And I'm going to start by reading a mostly traditional version, although it is a little adapted, and if you've heard the traditional version, you might know where the adaptations are. This is from Mary Engelbert's Nursery and Fairy Tale Collections, written and illustrated by Mary Engelbert, and read with permission of HarperCollins Children's. All right, and we are going to read Jack and the Beanstalk. You know what, I'm going to set this book down for right now so it's not in our way. There once was a noble woman who'd fallen on hard times. Her castle had been stolen away by a greedy giant, and now she lived in a cottage with her only son, Jack. He was a lazy boy, always dreaming and never working. Mother and son grew poorer and poorer until they had nothing but a cow. Jack's mother told him to sell the cow for a good price, and he agreed. But do you know what? On the way into town, Jack met a strange little man who gave him 3 magic beans in exchange for the cow. Jack thought his mother would be happy to have the beans. After all, they were magic. 3 beans! Jack's mother shouted when he got home. You foolish boy! And disgusted, she threw the beans out the window. Now Jack felt sad, and he went straight to bed. But in the morning, when he went to the window, he saw that the magic beans had sprung up into a huge vine. There was nothing to do but climb it. Higher and higher he climbed, until at last he reached the top of the vine, and he found himself looking at a castle that was high among the clouds. Jack didn't know it, but this was the very castle that had been stolen from his mother when he was just a baby. Wow. When Jack got there, he knocked. A giant woman answered the door. After taking one look at him, she said, "Oh, please, please run away. My husband is a cruel giant." Jack was exhausted and hungry, so he offered to work for food, and she let him in. As he was finishing up his dinner, there came a deafening roar. Jack hid in the cupboard just as the giant thundered in, bellowing, "Fee, fi, fo, fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman." But the giant's wife said, "Oh, it's the stew you smell." "Humph," Giant grunted, and he sat down to his giant supper. At last he finished eating, and his wife brought out a golden goose. "Lay," shouted the giant, and the goose laid an egg of solid gold. The giant amused himself for hours, commanding the goose to lay her golden eggs. Finally, the giant's wife brought out a harp. The giant said, "Play me a drink," and a drink appeared. "Play me a pillow," and a pillow appeared in the giant's chair. "Play music," and the harp played lovely music until at last the giant fell asleep. When the giant was snoring loudly, Jack crept out of his hiding place, grabbed the golden goose and the harp, and started to run. But the harp twisted in Jack's grasp and started chiming, "Master, master." Jack held tight to the goose and the harp, and he ran to the beanstalk as fast as he could go. But the harp's cries woke the giant. His feet shook the ground as he chased them. The beanstalk trembled with the terrible weight of him. As soon as Jack was safely on the ground, he cut the beanstalk with one swing of his hatchet, and the giant fell to the ground and died instantly. Jack gave the golden goose to his mother, who instantly recognized it as her own beloved pet. Then he said to the harp, "Play dinner, please," and a grand meal appeared before them. The very next day, Jack asked the harp to play a gown for his mother, a castle to live in, and happiness to last a lifetime. No, she is, huh? Jack and the Beanstalk is originally an English folktale, but it has been transformed and passed down, and now different variations of it can be found all around the world. I'd like to talk about a couple of different versions of Jack and the Beanstalk that you can request from the Pleasant Hills Public Library for your curbside pickups. The first is a chapter book called Jack, the True Story of Jack and the Beanstalk, written by Leslie Chatelief. Now, she has also written a couple other fractured retellings of famous fairy tales and folklore, including Rump, the True Story of Rumpelstiltskin. In this one, however, she's going to tell us about how Jack came to be fighting the giants. This is a chapter book recommended for my friends in grades 3 and up. Jack and the Bean Tree, retold and illustrated by Gail E. Haley, is an Appalachian version of Jack and the Beanstalk. While this might be an older edition, it still is a wonderful story to read aloud. Paul Guidon is featured in our story Walk right now, and I urge you to check him out if you haven't already. He has rewritten several classic folk and fairy tales, and this one, The History of Mother Thwaddle and the Marvelous Achievements of Her Son Jack, is his poetic version of Jack and the Beanstalk. Two more that I'd like to talk about. This is Jack and the Giant, a story full of beans, written and illustrated by Jim Harris. This is a southwestern version of Jack and the Beanstalk. It features a buffalo, cowboys, and beans. The last one I'd like to talk about is called Giant and the Beanstalk, written and illustrated by Diane Stanley. This is the famous story of Jack and the Beanstalk told from the giant's point of view. If you would like to request any of those books, please contact the library at 412-655-2424 or email us at pleasanthills@einetwork.net. And now it's time for STEAM! So, in the story, Jack and the Beanstalk, Jack had to scramble down the beanstalk with the giant chasing after him while holding the golden goose in one hand and the harp in the other. It was very hard for him to climb down. He could have really used a parachute. So this week, our STEAM challenge is to design and build a parachute for Jack to escape the giant from. If you get our takeout kit, it will look like this. Inside is a coffee filter, a piece of a paper towel roll, some pieces of twine, tin foil, an index card, and a paper cutout of Jack. As a bonus for our first week, we've also included things you need to build your own bean stack, including a plastic cup, a bag of potting soil, a skewer, a cutout of the castle that you can attach to that skewer, and the most important part, a bean seed. Now you can reserve your kit by contacting the library at 412-655-2424 or emailing us at pleasanthills@einetwork.net. Kits will be available at the library starting Monday, June 15th until supplies run out. I'm not going to tell you how to design and build that parachute because that's part of the challenge. Your task is to look at all the materials that are included in our take-home kit and anything else you might have at home. But make sure to ask a grown-up before you take something if it's okay that you use that. To design and build a parachute that will keep Jack safely inside until he lands safely. I'm sure you guys are going to come up with some crazy designs, and I can't wait to see them. Once you've completed your design, please feel free to mail it to us at pleasanthills@einetwork.net or to share it on our Facebook page. We have a special Facebook page just for summer reading called Pleasant Hills Public Library SRC, which stands for Summer Reading Club, Imagine Your Story. Karina is holding up my parachute. Here, toss it up in the air. Let's see how it does. Not bad. It could use some adjustments, and that's part of the scientific process. Especially when you toss it up like that. Jack might fall right out and hit his head. Here, let's try this. Ready? That was a safe landing.
Mommy?
Yes.
We have to make a hole and fill it up with hot air so it can be
Like a hot air balloon? That's a good idea. Thanks for joining us, friends, for Virtual Fairy Tale STEAM. We can't wait to see your final creations. Remember, if you have any questions, you can always message us on Facebook, give us a call, or send us an email to pleasanthills@einetwork.net. All right, my friends, see you next week for Rapunzel Needs to Get Out of Her Tower. Bye!